November 17th, 2025, Raw ran a six-man tag that felt, at the time, like a nostalgia moment more than a milestone. Sheamus wrestled his final WWE match that night, teaming with Rey Mysterio and John Cena to defeat the Judgment Day. And the match also marked Cena's final appearance on Raw as an active wrestler. Sheamus, Mysterio, and Cena stood across from Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough. And the good guys won. Nobody threw up a graphic. Nobody cut a farewell promo. It just ended and everybody went home. But wrestling insiders started connecting dots months later. On a WrestleVotes live taping, insider Joey Votes said it plainly, pointing back to that Garden show and stating flatly that the six-man at Madison Square Garden turned out to be Sheamus' last match, right alongside Cena and Mysterio. No ceremony, no send-off, just a six-man tag that got won and a career that quietly ended on the same night. Here's what makes that stranger: Sheamus wasn't cut. Sheamus was reportedly set to depart WWE after nearly 20 years with the company. With his contract expiring and him rejecting a restructured extension WWE had offered, and the report specifically noted he was not released. A wrestler doesn't usually get pushed out the door and also not released. This is a guy who turned down money to stay, and the last time he ever laced up boots for the company. None of the people watching knew it. Now about the man steering the ship. Triple H, Paul Levesque, has been WWE's chief content officer since 2022. The guy who signs off on nearly every creative decision that hits WWE television, and by every account from people who have covered this company for years. Triple H didn't push Sheamus toward the door. Reports noted it was surprising given Triple H's well-known admiration for the former WWE champion, with insiders agreeing that Triple H has consistently been a supporter of Sheamus throughout his time overseeing WWE's creative direction. Straight from that same report. This is not a Triple H call. This is the powers that be above him that do the contracts have numbers on guys. So if Triple H liked the guy, respected the guy, and still watched him walk, that's the part that has the wrestling world talking. Because whatever happened here, it happened on Triple H's watch in his promotion under his creative direction. And the guy walking out the door is someone who spent nearly 2 decades building this company brick by brick. Reactions started rolling and almost immediately once word got out. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus' longtime friend and former tag partner, going back to their days grinding on the independent scene together, didn't write a speech. McIntyre, who has shared a long friendship with Sheamus dating back well before their WWE careers, posted 2 throwback photos and simply captioned the post with a clover emoji and a burger emoji. A callback to one of his most memorable promos aimed at Sheamus, where he joked that his longtime friend looked like he'd been eating burger after burger after burger. JD McDonough, the very man standing across the ring from Sheamus in that final six-man, posted his own message. McDonough took to Instagram to share a message for his fellow Irishman, writing simply, "Until the next one, Shimo." That's the guy who lost to him in his last match, sending him off with 4 words. And then there's Ryback, a name from an entirely different era of the company, who weighed in on the mood inside the business right now. The wrestling world was still processing the news that Sheamus was expected to part ways with WWE. And Ryback, a longtime rival of CM Punk, did not hold back when reflecting on the veteran's career and the respect he'd earned throughout the industry. 3 different voices, a best friend, a locker room rival turned final opponent, and a veteran from outside the current roster, all reacting to the same thing. A nearly 20-year run, ending on a night nobody flagged as special until it was already over. That's the shape of this story right now. A match that happened without fanfare. A company that let one of its most dependable stars walk without a goodbye segment. And a chief content officer whose fingerprints, by every account, weren't even on the decision that sent him out the door. To understand how a wrestler builds nearly 2 decades of equity and still ends up exiting like this, you have to go back to where it all started, and how close he actually came to getting the one thing that eluded him his entire career. Stephen fairly signed with WWE back when the company still called its developmental system Florida Championship Wrestling. He began his professional wrestling career in 2002 on the European independent circuit, before signing with WWE in 2007 as part of their developmental territory. 2 years later, he was on the main roster, and it did not take him long to make noise. Sheamus won a battle royal to become the #1 contender to John Cena's WWE Championship, put Cena through a table at the contract signing, and on December 13th at TLC, defeated Cena to win the WWE Championship. His first title in the company, captured in just 166 days since his debut. An Irishman debuting on ECW under a shortened version of his name, beating the face of the company for the top title before most fans had even learned how to pronounce his last name. From there, the resume only grew. He He became a 4-time world champion, holding the WWE Championship 3 times and the World Heavyweight Championship once, making him the first Irish world champion in WWE history. He also held the United States Championship 3 times, was a 5-time tag team champion with partner Cesaro, and won the 2010 King of the Ring, the 2012 Royal Rumble, and the 2015 Money in the Bank ladder match, making him only the second wrestler after Edge to accomplish all 3. That's not a mid-card resume, that's a Hall of Fame resume, full stop. But there was one title that never came. Sheamus was a lock for the WWE Hall of Fame, but there was one thing missing from his resume. He fell just short of completing the WWE Grand Slam, having never captured the Intercontinental Championship. And that fell on WWE for never booking him as champion despite countless opportunities to do so. Year after year, he'd get positioned near that title, and year after year, it slipped away. The closest he ever came was a match most fans still talk about. When Triple H took over as WWE CCO in 2022, Sheamus was initially featured in prominent storylines, with his rivalry against Gunther arguably one of the best feuds of his entire career. And one of his best attempts at capturing the Intercontinental title came at WrestleMania 39, when he fought Gunther and Drew McIntyre in a triple threat. But after failing to win, he struggled to find himself near the top of the card for the rest of his career. That triple threat is remembered as a classic. It's also remembered now as the closest he got and never crossed. Behind the scenes, there was frustration building that fans wouldn't have picked up on watching Raw. According to insider reporting on the Self-Made Sessions podcast, Sheamus had genuinely believed there was a plan for him chasing the Intercontinental title again, this time at WrestleMania 41 opposite Braun Breaker. The insider explained it directly. Sheamus found it difficult to communicate with Triple H and was confused about being kept off television despite being healthy. Having been told he believed there was going to be something with him and Braun for the IC belt, which the company ended up doing in early January and then moving past. That's when things started to shift for him internally. The same report described a wider mood among WWE's older locker room presence. He'd believed there was going to be something with him and Braun Breaker for the Mania 40 IC belt. And when they did that in early January and moved past it, it was around that time that him and the New Day and a number of other veterans realized that things had really changed significantly. Not just in terms of their usage, but also communication with the office. And it became even harder to just get Triple H on hold for conversations. It wasn't that Sheamus demanded a release over it. The insider was specific about that distinction. He knew creative was cooked, as the source put it, but it wasn't one of those things where he immediately wanted his release. It was more that he mentally accepted the situation and figured he'd ride it out, hoping to make something work with a feud against Rusev instead. As long as the money wasn't affected, he was going to ride it out even though he knew things weren't going his way. And then the money did get affected because they asked him to take a cut. That's the pivot point, a guy who was willing to accept diminished creative if his paycheck stayed whole, only to have both taken away at once. Sheamus had been scheduled to compete in the Last Time Is Now tournament, but those plans were scrapped after he suffered a shoulder injury that forced him to the sidelines. And it was during that recovery that WWE approached him with a restructured contract. That restructuring wasn't some small ask either. It was reported that the Celtic Warrior turned down a contract extension with the company, one that would have resulted in a pay cut for the former world champion, a man who just told the world less than a year earlier on a podcast that he'd signed on for years to come, saying he'd go until the wheels fell off, that he'd do it until he physically couldn't anymore, that there was plenty of time later to sit back and read a book, was suddenly being asked to take less money to keep doing the job he loved. He said no, and the wording of the outcome matters. Fightful Select reported that Sheamus' contract was expiring soon and that he rejected a restructured extension, adding specifically that Sheamus was not released, not a firing, not a cut. A deal quietly running out its clock while its holder was still healing from surgery, still hoping for one more run at the title that had eluded him his whole career. That's the background that makes the ending sting the way it does. 19 years, 4 world titles, a Grand Slam dream that got dangled and never delivered, and a final chapter shaped less by decline in the ring, and more by a number on a spreadsheet somewhere above the creative department. To understand why that Garden 6-man carries so much weight now, you have to rewind slightly further to the run that led into it. Sheamus had been out for a stretch and came back with something to prove. He returned on the 5 May episode of Raw, defeated Austin Theory, before starting a feud against Rusev that culminated in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match at Clash in Paris, where he was defeated. That's the feud he'd personally pushed for. The one insiders say he was hoping would give him something to hold onto creatively, while he waited out the storm above his head. Then came a tournament that seemed built to matter. He defeated Shinsuke Nakamura by pinfall in the first round. Of the Last Time is Now tournament on the 10 November episode of Raw. A win's momentum, a path forward in a tournament with a name that, in hindsight, reads almost too fitting. 1 week later came the Garden. Sheamus wrestled his final WWE match the following week on Raw, teaming with Rey Mysterio and John Cena to defeat the Judgment Day. And coincidentally, the match also marked Cena's final appearance on Raw as an active wrestler. Two legends walking out the same night in the same match, and only one of them knew it going in. Because Cena's farewell tour had been public for months, plastered across every WWE broadcast, building to a retirement date fans had circled on calendars. Sheamus had no such spotlight. He simply wrestled a tag match, won it, and then his body told a different story than his plans did. Sheamus was later removed from the Last Time is Now tournament due to suffering a shoulder injury. That's the turn nobody predicted. He went from winning a first-round tournament match to being pulled off television entirely, and the tournament path that was supposed to be his vehicle back toward the top of the card just